Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om. Peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Hari Om Tat Sat, beloved Master, make it so. So welcome, everyone, to our Wednesday evening class, where we are reading and discussing the Bhagavad Gita as presented to us by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood. It is a simple translation, that is to say, an interpretation of an accurate interpretation of what Sri Krishna, Arjuna, Sanjaya, and Dhritarashtra said. It is hard enough to understand the incarnations, though they make every effort to speak to us simply and straightforwardly. They speak from this profundity that requires interpretation by such as Swami Prabhavananda. So from here, great gratitude that he produced this book for us. Anything else from anyone before we begin the reading and discussion of Bhagavad Gita as presented to us by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood? All right, dears. Swayam is our very capable and loving reader. She will begin.
Okay, namaste, everybody. Good evening. We are at the bottom of page 38. Basically, we are going to start with what Sri Krishna is going to say after Arjuna laid down his arms and said, "I will not fight," and became silent. So Sri Krishna says, "Your words are wise, Arjuna, but your sorrow is for nothing. The truly wise mourn neither for the living nor for the dead. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of the kings, nor is there any future in which we shall cease to be. Just as the dweller in this body passes through childhood, youth, and old age, so at death, he merely passes into another kind of body. The wise are not deceived by that. Feelings of heat and cold, pleasure and pain are caused by the contact of the senses with their objects. They come and they go. never lasting long. You must accept them. A serene spirit accepts pleasure and pain with an even mind and is unmoved by either. He alone is worthy of immortality. That which is non existent can never come into being, and that which is can never cease to be. Those who have known the inmost reality know also the nature of is and is not. That reality which pervades the universe is indestructible. No one has the power to change the changeless. Bodies are said to die, but that which possesses the body is eternal. It cannot be limited or destroyed. Therefore, you must fight. Some say this Atman is slain, and others call it the slayer. They know nothing. How can it slay, or who shall slay it? And in asterisks, Atman is noted as the Godhead that is within every being.
The Godhead that is within every being, the Atman. This is Swami Prabhavananda's definition of Atman. So read the sentence in which Atman occurs again, please, dear.
Mhm. Some say this Atman is slain, and others call it the slayer. They know nothing. How can it slay, or who shall slay it?
We
Know
lost
this.
we lost you, dear.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Know this Atman, unborn, undying, never ceasing, never beginning, deathless, birthless, unchanging, forever. How can it die? The death of the body. Knowing it birthless, knowing it, and this it's are all in capital, the I is in capital. Knowing it birthless, knowing it deathless, knowing it endless, forever unchanging. Dream not you do the deed of the killer. Dream not the power is yours to command it. Worn out garments are shed by the body. Worn out bodies are shed by the dweller within the body. New bodies are donned by the dweller like garments. Not wounded by weapons, not burned by fire, not dried by the wind, not wetted by water. Such is Atman, not dried, not wetted, not burned, not wounded, innermost element, everywhere, always, being of beings, changeless, eternal, forever and ever.
Okay, let's just hold it right there. Now, this is Sri Krishna's opening statement to Arjuna, starting with, your words are wise, but you are mistaken. And here's why. And he essentially tells him the whole truth. Everything that is later to be expounded in the Gita is in one way or another gestured at in this opening statement. Is there anything that you would like to say, any comment from your own wisdom or experience about what Sri Krishna has said, or any concern that anything that he has said, or any question that it raises for you? Because it's very important that we go ahead on a firm basis of common understanding of what it is that Sri Krishna has said and what Swami Prabhavananda and Isherwood have interpreted as Sri Krishna's words. Anything at all from anyone?
Yes, Brother Shankara, I do have a question.
Yes, dear.
And probably it is explainable by the punctuation. That worn out garments stanza, it says, worn out garments are shed by the body, and then there's a colon, and then worn out bodies are shed by the dweller within the body. New bodies are donned by the dweller like garments. So I understand the part where it says worn out bodies are shed by the dweller within the body. So basically the Atman or the subtle body.
No,
Well,
not the
maybe I'm
subtle body and the Atman are not the same, dear.
not the same.
Not the same. The subtle body will transmigrate, yes, and it
Right.
will be part of this taking a new body, but it is not the same as the Atman. The
So who?
Atman is the dweller within the subtle body.
Okay. So when it says worn out bodies are shed by the dweller within the body, so the Atman
Is the dweller, yes.
dweller. And so the Atman decides when to shed the body.
No, your Prarabdha karma decides when to shed the
Oh.
body. The Atman is the witness. The Atman has nothing, wants nothing, does nothing, and knows nothing.
Mm.
It simply experiences, witnesses. Krishna will explain this in detail in chapter 4. This is simply a matter of the Atman is the witness. It does not do anything, have anything, want anything, and for that matter, does not know anything. It is knowledge itself. And so the dweller within the body is the Atman. It wears as a garment both the subtle body and the gross body. The gross body is this garment that is shed. The subtle body also may be shed at the time of liberation. And before that, we are the jiva, that which breathes. And there is a gross breathing and there is a subtle breathing. The subtle body breathes also. It's a different kind of breathing entirely. You experience it when you practice meditation enough. You find that you no longer need to take gross body breaths, but something is sustaining your being, your subtle body, which is that which is acting, that which is meditating. And then behind that is this witness that is the dweller within the body. So does that clarify it, Swayam?
I'm still a little confused by the grammar, I guess. It says worn out bodies are shed by the dweller. That makes it appear as if the dweller within the body is actually doing the action of shedding the body.
Well, but it isn't, that's not what it means. It simply means that the dweller within the body no longer wears that garment. It's shed. I know we put on and take off clothes. The dweller within the body simply moves on as the garment that it has been wearing falls down, stops functioning, because it's come to the end of its prarabdha karma, that which brought it into being in this incarnation, this embodiment. So there's no need to be confused by the grammar. It doesn't mean that the Atman is doing anything. It simply means that it no longer wears that garment.
Oh, okay.
I can see why there could be confusion, and this is one of the reasons that we go through this book, because it could seem as if The Atman is doing something. It does nothing. It simply witnesses. It simply experiences. Thank you,
Okay.
Sukha.
Thank you, Brother Shankar.
Anything else from anyone? Any question, any comment, any concern?
Yes, Brother Shankara, this is Neera.
Yes, Neil.
You said the subtle body transmigrates. I understand that. But the Atman, what happens to the Atman when the subtle body transmigrates and the gross body is disintegrated? The Atma stays.
What did the Sri Krishna just say? It is eternal, undying. It's always there. It's always. It is the reality of you. It is the actuality of you. You are the Godhead. Tattvamasi, that thou art. So it's always there. And nothing happens to it. It doesn't go anywhere or do anything. It simply is always there. And this is only a language of convenience that it sheds and dawns. When a new embodiment is taken, and this is because of the karma of the body, not the karma of the Atman. The Atman has no karma. Because of the karma that is ongoing. We have prarabdha karma that brought us into this lifetime. Then that is over, that body falls down and is no longer. But there is still the karma that has been accumulated by that body and by previous incarnations that forms a new prarabdha karma. And so what actually happens is at conception, the womb of the woman, the womb of the woman becomes a concave, like a concave mirror, but it isn't reflecting light. It isn't focusing light like a concave mirror would. It is focusing this energy that is all around us at all times. It provides a focal point for it, which is the egg. It focuses that, and within that moment, it's as if I was holding my hand like this, and like a magician pulls up a handkerchief out of my apparently empty hand. Now imagine that handkerchief is connected without any break or any interruption, connected with the divine Godhead everywhere. This is that little blue being the size of a thumb that is mentioned in the Upanishads. It is pulled up by this vacuum that has been created by this concave mirror of the womb. It's pulled up, but it remains connected 360 degrees in every direction with that which is, and for that matter, that which is not. Now, the subtle body forms around that, and then the gross body forms around that. But the Atman is ever existing. It just becomes focused as a dweller within this new body that is being created. That I just narrated to you is an actual experience given to me by Sri Ramakrishna. He showed me just exactly what I just narrated to you.
Thank you.
So the Atman is ever present, undying, eternal, all those words that Krishna just used to Arjuna, trying to give us some sense of what it is that we're talking about as the dweller within the body. It is also spoken of in various scriptures, the Upanishads especially, as this little blue being that is that the size of your thumb that dwells within the lotus of the heart. That is the dweller within the body. It is what we can perceive if we actually get to the point where we can perceive this in our profound meditation. We'll see that little blue being, the size of a thumb. And it is radiant. It is radiant beyond all description. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Nira.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Yeah, so I understand that the Atman is not any kind of material, but for the purpose of imagination, I kind of feel like or think to myself that Atman is this infinite, stretchable kind of material, like fabric.
Yeah, that's why I use that handkerchief. I share that with you. That's why I use that handkerchief of the magician analogy. Right. Very good.
So yeah, so I was thinking it outpouches into different forms, and when the purpose of the form is done, then the sort of pouching goes back into the original.
Well, yes, that little blue being dissolves back into the at the death of the body, the little blue being dissolves back into its eternal, infinite, formless being. There is no form. These forms are taken for the purpose of incarnation, embodiment. This is told to us in the Upanishads, and Sri Ramakrishna triple underlines it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from anyone? All right, read the last few lines, dear, just so we read on into what comes next.
Okay. So basically talking about the Atman, he says, not wounded by weapons, not burned by fire, not dried by the wind, not wetted by the water. Such is the Atman. Not dried, not wetted, not burned, not wounded. Innermost element, everywhere, always. Being of beings, changeless, eternal, forever and ever.
In other words, it's not a material object. It is this unimaginable by the mind state of being. Okay, dear, sorry.
This Atman cannot be manifested to the senses or thought about by the mind. It is not subject to modification. Since you know this, you should not grieve. But if you should suppose this Atman to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you ought not to be sorry. Death is certain for the born. Rebirth is certain for the dead. You should not grieve for what is unavoidable. Before birth, beings are not manifest to our human senses. In the interim between birth and death, they are manifest. At death, they return to the unmanifest again. What is there in all this to grieve over? There are some who have actually looked upon the Atman and understood it in all its wonder. Others can only speak of it, capital I, as wonderful beyond their understanding. Others know of its wonder by hearsay. And there are others who are told about it and do not understand a word. He, capital, who dwells within all living bodies, remains forever indestructible. Therefore, you should never mourn for anyone. Even if you consider this from the standpoint of your own caste duty, you ought not to hesitate. For to a warrior, there is nothing nobler than a righteous war. Happy are the warriors to whom a battle such as this comes. It opens a door to heaven. But if you refuse to fight this righteous war, you will be turning aside from your duty. You will be a sinner and disgraced. People will speak ill of you throughout the ages. To a man who values his honor, that is surely worse than death. The warrior chiefs will believe it was fear that drove you from the battle. You will be despised by those who have admired you for so long. Your enemies also will slander your courage. They will use the words which should never be spoken. What could be harder to bear than that? Die, and you win heaven. Conquer, and you enjoy the earth. Stand up now, son of Kunti, and resolve to fight. Realize that pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat are all one and the same. Then go into battle. Do this, and you cannot commit any sin.
Okay, let's stop and say, read those things about what are the same.
Which say that again.
What did you just read? That he ends up by saying these are the same. Pleasure and pain, victory and defeat.
Sure. Realize that pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat are all one and the same. Then go into battle.
Why are they one and the same? Does anyone have any comment on that from their own wisdom or experience? Why are pleasure and pain, victory and defeat? Why are they one and the same?
Because
they all are,
hang on, let's let Robert talk for a moment.
okay.
they're all illusions.
They're all what?
Illusions.
Yes, they're illusions.
They're not real.
They're not real, but also they're just aspects. They're just the dark and the light, the duality. So they are, you're right, Robert, they are illusions. Part of the duality, which is itself an illusion.
But they just come and go. That's what it is, right? Pain and pleasure, all these things, gain and loss, they come and go. It happens and it just goes on, and then
that's why we should, and that's why Sri Krishna says earlier, the wise do not grieve for the coming and the going. They do not celebrate the coming, the seeming coming. They do not grieve over the seeming. Anything to add, Robert? This is very good.
No.
Okay.
I think Krishna is telling him to be equanimous.
Well,
Just
yes, exactly.
right, Brother Shankara? Equanimity, maintain equanimity. These all come and go.
Because if we are properly seated as the witness of the Atman, we simply witness them come and go. Everything arises and passes away. Everything that can possibly exist within time, space, and causation. Because the rest, it's like St. Thomas Aquinas says, it both does and does not exist. So it is and is not. And this, of course, is completely beyond the comprehension of our minds. Our minds cannot hold these thoughts and understand them. This is why we have to, ultimately, if we're going to go this direction, we don't have to in any dogmatic sense. But if we're going to head in the direction that Sri Krishna is directing us, we have to accept these things. And it's a kind of working faith. Yes, okay, I'll believe what Sri Krishna says, even though there's no way I'm going to understand it in an intellectual sense. So this is why
Very good
pleasure
point,
and
Brother
pain,
Shankara.
gain and loss, are the same. Someone who spoke up, who was it?
Yeah, it was me. I said, very, very well said, that intellectually we accept it and we trust it, and then we take one step at a time.
Precisely, Shailesh. Precisely. Thank you. That's exactly it. And this is where Robert was coming from. Robert has had sufficient spiritual experience now to know these things are illusory, but that's not intellectual knowledge. It goes way beyond intellectual knowledge. It is knowledge of the heart, or of this deep wisdom that comes with profound meditation. And so this is why he could speak with confidence that the reason these are the same is that they really don't exist at all. They are illusory. And this is why Haima said, if we just have equanimity in the face of them, they don't harm us in any way. There's no way that the truth of our being can be harmed, as Sri Krishna just said. Not burnt by fire, wetted by water, dried by wind, cut by sword. It is not a material object that we are. We are not a material being. We are a spiritual being. We are the divine being having a human experience, not a human being having a divine experience. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
at a physical level, it's easier to conceptualize the opposites. Like anything that has a front has to have a back. Anything that goes up comes down.
Yes.
But at the non-physical level, it's a little bit harder to accept only the positive, the pleasure versus the pain, the gain versus the loss.
Well, yes, this is why I said we accept it as a kind of working faith. It becomes Shraddha, or courageous conviction and steadfastness, which is the meaning of Shraddha, courageous conviction and steadfastness. When we have descended below the depths, below the thoughts, below the breath, and experienced ourselves as the Atman, as the witness. And it is not an experience of the senses, as Sri Krishna pointed out, that Atman is never manifested to the senses. Even when we visualize it as this little blue being the size of a thumb, it is with our spiritual eyes that we make this visualization, not with our physical eyes. Wonderful. Anything else from anyone? Notice that Sri Krishna has admonished and encouraged Arjuna, both from the spiritual perspective. He's told him the spiritual truth. And then he gives him the material truth, the living, breathing warrior chieftain truth. If you don't fight, you're going to be disgraced. Words will be said about you that should not ever be said. These people will say you didn't do. They won't credit your story about scruples, about not wanting to kill them. They'll just say you were afraid. So he has now given him the spiritual truth about why he must fight and why he shouldn't withhold himself from the fight. And then he gives him his cast duty reasons and what will happen if he doesn't fight. So he's so to speak surrounding Arjuna with the truth of various kinds. And we'll see how Arjuna responds here in a moment. Anything else from anyone? All right, please read on, dear.
I'm reminded how Swami Yogeshananda, before he became a Swami during World War II, he was a conscientious objector.
Yes.
People called him a yellow belly. They just
Yep.
didn't understand these were his principles.
Yes, oh yes, that's exactly. They called him a yellow belly, they called him all kinds of names, and of course he went away to work in a forestry camp. He was, assigned this alternative duty. As a kanchi, as they called them in those days, these cowardly kanchis, and they were very harshly dealt with by the people who supervised them. Very few people had any sympathy or understanding for the fact that they were acting from principle. Yeah, you're right. Swami Yogeshananda endured that. Thank you, Ramadas. I'm pretty sure most of the people here with us on screen this evening didn't know that about Swami Yogeshananda.
Yeah, there was a movie about that, a guy too. He was conscientious of, I think it's called Heartbreak Ridge. He became a medic and they called him a coward. He ended up like saving a lot of people's lives in a battle. So he wasn't a coward at all. He just did, it was just principles.
Yeah. Yeah, Ernest Hemingway during World War I became an ambulance driver and a medic because he did not want to participate in the fighting. Because of his broader view of reality. It's very nicely described in his book, The Sun Also Rises. Anything else from anyone before we go on? Thank you, Brahmadas. All right, dear, please read on.
I have explained to you the true nature of the Atman. Now listen to the method of Karma Yoga. And in asterisk, karma, there are three parts or definitions. One, work or a deed. Two is effect of a deed. Three, laws of causation governing action and its effects in the physical and psychological plane. And
Notice that it does not say the spiritual plane. In the physical and psychological or psychic plane. Okay, this is what's meant by karma.
And then yoga is union with God. And two, a prescribed path of spiritual life. The various yogas are therefore different paths to union with God. Karma yoga is the path of selfless, God-dedicated action. And yogi is one who practices yoga.
So these footnotes are here because this was published for the broader American public at a time when most people did not know these words at all. Now many of them are commonplace, though often misunderstood. Still misunderstood, but nevertheless, very sweet definitions by the Swami of very straightforward, understandable definitions of karma and yoga. Okay, dear?
Okay. If you can understand and follow it, that is the karma yoga, you will be able to break the chains of desire which bind you to your actions. In this yoga, even the abortive attempt is not wasted.
Why does it say this? In most of the Vedic ceremonies and rituals where there is a fire sacrifice, a fire ceremony. The reason Sri Krishna points this out is that in virtually all of those, if you don't do it exactly correctly, there can be an unfortunate result, an abortive result. So please read that again for those of you who didn't understand. This was spoken, remember, 5,000 years ago, when Vedic rituals were very much a part of everyday life for many, many people. They were done by the priests, and they had to be done exactly right, or both the priest and the person who had paid the priest to do it could suffer as a result, because it would be abortive. Sometimes even a 180-degree reversal of the effects. This is what's said. So the intention would be white, and the result would be black. So if you would read that again, please.
If you can understand and follow it, Karma Yoga, you will be able to break the chains of desire which bind you to your actions. In this yoga, even the abortive attempt is not wasted, nor can it produce a contrary result. Even a little practice of this yoga will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death.
Now notice that this is Sri Krishna, over the course of the Gita, makes a number of absolutely startling and huge promises. Even a little practice of this karma yoga will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death. In other words, even a little practice of karma yoga can result in liberation, freeing you from your karma. Any comments or questions about that? Because this is very important for us to understand. Because what he's telling, he's about to tell, he's admonished Arjuna. Now he's about to tell him in what spirit to go ahead and do this fight. Now, understanding the metaphor, that this is all a metaphorical statement of how we should go ahead and fight the struggle of, and for Krishna, karma and bhakti yoga are the two are the vector, if you will. They're the upward rising vector of spiritual achievement and attainment. So please.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Am I right in my understanding that in the Vedic sacrifices, it was more of the karma kanda, where they were looking for results from the sacrifices that they did? They were.
Yes, exactly.
So they were not really following karma yoga in the true sense.
No, they weren't following karma yoga at all. They were following karma kanda, not karma yoga.
Right.
Karma kanda means practices, a way of doing action. Karma kanda means practices. And so the Vedic sacrifices definitely were intended to produce a result, and the result was meant to either free the person who paid for the sacrifice, free them from something, free them from persecution or a lawsuit, or Lord only knows what,
Looking for
Or-
worldly benefits, worldly rewards.
Exactly. Right.
Yes, lower ones.
Right. This that Sri Krishna is talking about is the higher, is the spiritual, above the physical and psychological or psychic, as the Swami defined it. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Neera, for that clarification.
Yes, Brother Shankara, I have a bit of a comment, I guess.
Yes.
This sentence, even a little practice of this yoga will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death. Of course, the left brain wants to define or quantify the little practice as, okay, 5 times, 6 times, whatever. But it would be, I guess, helpful to redirect it to do whatever one can, however, many times or whatever situation. Again, I think if we think that, oh, okay, I'm doing this, I'm not expecting anything, that it kind of contradicts the idea of karma yoga. The best way, I think, to think of karma yoga is just not think about, oh, I'm doing something. Either offer it to the Lord or just, in Hindi, there is a statement like, do good and throw it into the well, sort of, don't think that you did something.
Yes,
Am I-
exactly. Oh, Krishna will explain this in great detail over the next chapters, exactly how to go about this. But you're exactly right. But the reason he says even a little practice of this is what we'll see, is that karma yoga builds on itself. Because you experience the freedom and contentment that comes from freeing yourself from actions and their results. It builds on itself. This is why Sri Krishna says what he says. That's the secret behind what he says, that it builds on itself. But he isn't promising that right away. He isn't saying no, he's just saying even a little practice will free you. The reason is it builds on itself. It is one of those things that it's like exercising. When you exercise, you become stronger. When you become stronger, you can do more exercise, and so on. And so it's it is. This is why, in one context, Vivekananda says this world we live in, this universe, is a gymnasium in which we exercise and become stronger and learn our exercises. Anyway, without getting off on that. Anything else from anyone before we go on?
Yeah, I think this sloka, in this yoga, even the abortive attempt is not wasted, nor can it produce a contrary result. Even a little practice of this yoga will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death. That's, I think, one of the most significant passages of the Gita, because it's a stupendous promise from the Lord himself that you're not wasting your time with this yoga.
Precisely. And it cannot produce a contrary effect, like the Vedic sacrifices can, like the karma kanda, as Neera pointed out. The practices of doing things for worldly gain or release from worldly pain. So this, as you said, this is a stupendous promise by Sri Krishna. So read it again, please, dear, unless there's something else from anyone, and then read on.
Yes, I have one.
Yes,
That not doing, that doing just a little will do it. It's like a knife with two edges. Because when you say a little, that now your mind will grab onto that. Now, what is a little? Is that a second a day? Is that an hour a day? And we'll will grab on to that. And I think there should be something coming later on that emphasizes that
Sri Krishna defines what is meant by a little.
That we should do. We should think.
Yes.
How much we can do rather than how
Yes,
little.
he rather than quantify it, what he does is qualify it. He simply says, "This is what I mean." And as I said, he doesn't say so many minutes a day, but he says, "Just do this." And what happens is we do that just a little, as I said. The secret meaning behind what he's saying is that it builds on itself. You find that it's like your practice of the piano, dear. Precisely like your practice of the piano. When you began to practice the piano, you weren't any good years and years and years and years ago. But as you practiced, you got better. And the better you got, the easier it got to become yet better. And finally, you reached this transcendent state where it was no longer you playing, the music was playing you. We've talked about this. And this is exactly what happens in spiritual life. And it's one of the reasons that Swami Vivekananda said music is the highest form of art, and for those who understand it, the highest form of worship, because it can become transcendent, literally transcendent. It can become, as Gustavo Dudamel said, an attempt to make every note sacred.
I would like to share a thought, Brother Shankara, and
Please, dear.
Please correct me at the end what you think, because I had the same question what OMG had about the left brain asking to quantify that little karma. And let's take an example, let's say I am where I am right now. I feed stray cats. Okay, one bowl of food every night I feed them. And I go in my life and do all these other things. And I generate my prarabdha karma or agami karma, which is going to come in the future. But this karma is lot. And so let's say all my life, I feed these cats completely selflessly. So this is a good karma I'm creating. But then I'm thinking that, I'm also doing all these things. So obviously I'm not going to get liberated. So my next life comes and I do that same thing. And then again so at certain point, I think the evolution comes to a point where my karma is accumulated good way by feeding all these stray cats. And then somewhere the consciousness kicks in. There is some kind of a thing says that, you know what, let's stop doing all this prarabdha karma. Let's reduce that bad karma or whatever which is tying you up to the world. And so now my prarabdha karma reduces. And then I come to a point where I'm just feeding. One life comes where I'm just doing good karma, selfless karma. And then at the end, I realize that, okay, this is what it is. And I become a Jivan Mukta and I'm liberated. So my thought is that—
Speaking of cats, look who just showed up at my window.
So my thought is that it's kind of little misleading, if I would like to use that word, though it is strong word, that with little you will get liberated. It doesn't mean that you're going to get liberated in this life.
Oh, yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does.
I don't know, Brother Shankara. I think.
But
I mean, just take this example. Let's say,
No. Hold on. You said, let me correct you.
Yeah. Okay,
Shailesh, I'm correcting you.
Okay.
Not from here. From Swami Prabhavananda, from Swami Swahananda, from Swami Brahmananda, from Ramakrishna himself. It does mean now, this lifetime, free you from the wheel of rebirth and death, even a little practice. And Sri Krishna will tell you what is meant by a little practice. a little practice means, well, I'll let him say it. I won't preview it. But dear heart, you wrote this scenario, this little story, this short story of feeding the cats lifetime after lifetime and what the results would be. That's just the tiniest part of it, the actual action, what is going on within you is far more important and more powerful. The reason you're motivated to feed these cats, you're not trying to get anything from doing this. The cats can't give you anything other than this simple joy of giving them some food and keeping them from starving. You've also provided some housing for them. You've told me your experience of these stray cats that you're taking care of. You actually allow one of them to come in the house and so on. So it's not that you're wanting anything from the cats. The cats have nothing to give you other than the simple joy of being with a cat. So there's something more powerful going on. That more powerful is what grows and grows and grows as we practice a little. And after a time, as Sri Krishna says, you become dear to me and I free you. We don't free ourselves. We do not free ourselves. As Christ said, ye have not chosen me, I have chosen you. So we just do what we're told to do. It builds on itself. And at some point, as Sri Krishna will say to us over and over, you become very dear to me. And because you are dear to me, you come to me. And you do not experience the need for embodiment anymore. I have freed you from all that. Over and over, he says it in the Gita. Over and over, in various contexts and in various ways. Okay.
Thank you. I do have a counter thought to share, but that will be just humbly. I would like to say that if my desires are there just the way they are, and in fact they're increasing, then how is that little karma going to help me in this lifetime?
Dear
now
heart,
you're
your
saying that there is
desires
a
for
grace
what?
coming in, but let's say
What desires are increasing?
I mean, it's mind, human mind, and if I really examine, I mean, it is there are desires. The desires
Is it
change.
that they're
When I'm
really
young, there is lust. When I'm older, there is something else. Then there is something else, and there is something else.
Shailesh, is it that they are really increasing, or is it that your awareness, your self-awareness makes it seem as if they're increasing because you're acknowledging them?
Well, that's a tricky statement you are making. So
It's not at all tricky. It is the product of experience from here, dear, and the experience of many others. It isn't that our desires increase. It is that we become aware of just how much desiring we're doing. And as Swami Prabhavananda said, desire is nothing but a restlessness of the mind. So we become aware of how restless the mind is for wanting something outside the present moment, not being equanimous, as Haima pointed out, in this moment and simply abiding in this moment and watching things come and go. No, we want something outside this present moment. We distract ourselves, but it is our awareness of that grows. We're not capable of changing the gunas and what they're doing. We're not capable of that. If we think we're capable of that, as Sri Krishna will tell us, it is simply our delusion. No, it is our awareness that grows, and it's because our awareness is growing as that witness awareness of the Atman. We're seeing how much desiring is going on. And I'm telling you, Shailesh, I guarantee what I said is the truth. Not that your desires are increasing. Your awareness of your desires is increasing.
Yes.
Okay.
You said something interesting.
I have
Yeah, Robert, go ahead and then
something.
Brahmadas.
Okay, I have something. It's not that when you start to do it, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's meditation, whether it's praying, music, and it's the time that you're doing it seems to kind of dissolve away.
Mm-hmm.
Then the desire, it's gone even before that, and then the awareness dissolves away as well.
And you simply
and
are that.
it's happening, and I don't know what word, if there is a word to describe it.
Well, I just said you are that. You become that.
Yeah.
That's what you are. That's what I was saying when I say you're no longer playing the music is playing you.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is what happens when we practice. And this is why I say the practice of karma yoga will result in the same thing. And Sri Krishna will tell us exactly what to practice. He will give us exactly very detailed instructions, what to do, how to do it, how to think about it, how to be with it. It's all here in chapters 2, 3, and 4. It's really quite remarkable.
Well, we want to put a name to everything, put a label on it. In some things, there's no label you can put on it. A label becomes not even necessary.
Yes, you're absolutely right. This is the experience of the Atman when I say that the Atman knows nothing. It doesn't need to label anything. It doesn't do that. The left mind does that. And that's its job. If we read the definition given about the mind, when we read the cosmology of the Gita within Sankhya philosophy, the left mind, the mind as we understand the word mind, is a storehouse of information about name and form. The names that you just talked about, the categories, that's what it's for. We won't go into why it's kind of escaped those boundaries, but that's what's happened. So Brahmadas, something else from you, dear.
Oh yeah, I just thought it was interesting that you said, "Ye have not chosen me, I have chosen you." And I've also taken in a stray cat. You probably hear him meowing over there. And he chose me. And the stray cats, they choose you. We don't choose them. And also, there he goes. And it's been, to me, like a spiritual experience to have like Yudhishthira's dog, like a living creature that trusts you and depends on you to care for them.
And Yudhishthira's dog is a very good example. That cat is Dharma itself. And it comes and goes in your life, but it is Dharma itself, and that's why it chose you.
Right.
Yes, exactly. That cat is righteousness and Dharma itself.
Righteousness and Dharma. I like that.
I like it too. Anything else from anyone before we sign off?
I just want to make a quick comment. I know we're past time, Brother Shankara.
It's all right, dear. Go right ahead.
Okay, just one comment. Once the meditation starts manifesting, the desire stage goes down, and there will not be any desires anymore. You're just doing it. You continue to do it, but there's no desires anymore.
Why is that the case, Haima?
Because the meditation starts manifesting, and that's the result of meditation, I believe.
What is it that manifests? It manifests in a
Goes to higher level.
Well, it manifests as a calming of the mind.
Calming effect, yes, I would say.
The mind is no longer restless.
No longer restless, no desires.
Right.
And then everything is calm, and you're just doing your duties and doing your worldly duties and keep on moving and accept whatever comes to your plate. You accept it gracefully.
Well, this is exactly what happens. And as I say, Sri Krishna will explain to us.
Yes, he does explain
what to do,
right
how
after.
to do it, and how to get there. And of course, he says over and over that meditation, the practice of meditation, is necessary. Why?
Definitely.
Because we must get below the level of the chattering, thinking mind.
Anxiety.
We must get below that if we're going to manifest the truth of our being. We don't have to do it. Billions of people in the world are not doing it at this very moment. No harm, no foul. As long as they're not harming anyone, there's nothing. Even if they are harming someone, it's not up to us to judge.
Nothing we can do, right?
We may want to curb their antisocial behavior because of our laws, but and we don't condone it, but neither do we judge it. So this is why spiritual life is not. It's simple in principle, as Krishna will explain to us, but it's difficult in practice. And this is one of the things that is brought up to us by Shailesh and Haima, and I mean not Haima, Swayam, and Nira occasionally. The difficulties of trying to, particularly if you have a strong left mind, if you practiced using your left mind to master the game of life, it's hard to rise above it or sink below it, actually, is what actually happens in meditation, because it continues to want to hold our attention. But this is why Sri Krishna tells Arjuna in 700 verses, and he explains 4 different kinds of yoga. So anything else from anyone before we sign off?
Yeah, Brother Shankara, I have a quick comment and a question.
Yes, dear.
The comment is following Shailesh's thing that it's okay to eat mangoes. Sometimes even Sri Ramakrishna has given permission.
He not only gave permission, he gave a commandment.
Yeah, especially in summer when we get all those delicious mangoes from India, the particular Alfonso variety.
Yes.
I mean, I indulge myself during that time. But my question was, I know people, like even my friends, who are very dedicated to the cause that they work for. And truly they are doing it for the cause, not expecting. But then the people that receive their the effects of their good work then recognize them either through a monetary reward or a plaque or naming something. Does that negate the yoga part of the karma?
No. If they're not working for that, what comes to them as a result of that, they have no right to the fruits of their action. So something happens, but if they have no attachment to it, no harm, no foul. If someone gives them, makes a donation, or supports them in their work, or puts a plaque up, or names a hospital wing after them, as long as they have no attachment to it. But this is the difficulty. It's so easy for us to be subtly attached. And Swami Prabhavananda talks about this at some length in not in this book, but in the book How to Know God. How easy it is to not be aware of our subtle attachments. And so, but better to do it and be a little attached than not to do it at all. But Ramakrishna says, and Jesus says it too, first seek God. And this is what Sri Krishna will tell us as he develops chapter 3 now.
Yeah, I was just going to say or ask that does sharing that attachment with, their friends or family, is that a kind of subtle attachment?
Oh, yes. The more they talk about it, the more you know they're attached. I'm not judging. I'm not saying bad people.
Right.
Of course. It's a long, winding road, as the Beatles said. It's the long and winding road that leads back to your door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so.
Brother Shankara, it's just like not being attached to name and fame. That's what
Very much.
Thakur said that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
if
a
we're
form of
attached, we're
name.
attached. But the more we practice meditation, the more clearly we see where we are attached and where our desires are coming from, and so on and so forth. And so this is how Sri Krishna really gives us such wonderful instruction as we go along here. And there's just, he tells us exactly what to do. Exactly. And how to do it. And how to think about it. And how to be with it. And how to meditate on it. He tells it all.
Brother Shankara?
Yes.
If you can really look at yourself, your friends, your community, society as a whole, and if you can be really objective with that, mankind has a long ways to go.
Well, yes, but this is why this dark age is ending and a new age is dawning, where it will be much easier to live in the world, and these things will be easier to learn. It's also the other side of that is that life is so easy. There's not as much motivation. There's not as much suffering, so there's not as much motivation to learn it. It's easier to learn, but because you don't suffer so much, you don't have the kinds of sufferings. You don't have to work to eat. You don't have, the world is temperate, so you don't have to even have much of shelter. People begin to go without clothing and so on and so forth. It's yes, humanity has a long way to go, but we don't need to concern ourselves about that, Robert. We just need to concern ourselves about ourselves and those that we can touch directly or indirectly by giving some money. Like if you can give some money to the organizations that are working in Turkey and Syria, for that matter, the organizations that are serving the suffering people in Ukraine, all the better. But we don't, our compassion should reach no further than our actual ability to have some effect. Because then we're actually being sentimental. when our compassion reaches beyond our ability to have some direct or indirect positive effect. As Swami Prabhavananda said, if we could just look at the things of the world objectively and see ourselves as the Atman, if we could just look at the things of the world objectively and see ourselves as the Atman, everything would pass by and be all right. And by that, pass by and be all right means we would be liberated. That's what he means. If we can truly see ourselves as the Atman, liberation is a hair's breadth away. Anything else, dears?
Yeah, Brother Shankar, I just wanted to share, I was very touched by this news that I heard that this lady in Charlotte, North Carolina started this tradition or whatever, I'm not getting the right word, of sending flowers on Valentine's Day to widows. And that apparently has caught on. So now a whole bunch of volunteers come to her backyard to put together those bouquets, and they delivered flowers to like so many widows. And that has caught on and is spreading to other cities as well. And I thought, I mean, that really touched my heart. You know,
How
there's so many
sweet.
ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a way to gladden the heart of one person, that each widow, by the actions that are done by these people. And that's wonderful, as Swami Vivekananda pointed out. If you can bring a smile to even one face on this day, it has been a good day. If you can bring a smile to any one's face in this day, it has been a good day. A moment's, in other words, a moment's selflessness builds on itself because of the joy we find in selflessness. We'll talk about all this as we go through the next chapter. We're just at the end of chapter 2. This is where this promise about even a little practice of this yoga. So now we'll take up the principles and practices of karma yoga next week. Any last thought from anyone? All right, dears. Om Hari Om Satoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless deception to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through, light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe, may we be healthy, may we be cheerful, may we have peace of mind, and may we be always, and know we are always, in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. So until Saturday at noon, or this coming Sunday at 11, when the topic is the keys to the treasure box are yours for the asking. All right. Until then, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.